Hey, what is up? Welcome to this episode of the Entrepreneur to Entrepreneur podcast. As always, I'm your host, Brian Lofermento, and this is an episode, I'm all smiles today because I've already had a chance to talk to today's guest off camera, and she loves growing businesses as much as you and I do personally. She is an incredible entrepreneur. She's been an incredible business professional for quite some time, and she's really all about sharing all of that with so many other business owners who want to grow, who want to amp up their business. We're going to dive into all those topics. But at the end of the day, what really stands out to me about today's guest is her attitude towards, you all know how much I love this quote, a rising tide lifts all boats. She's a big believer in business owners helping to amplify and lift each other up. So I want to tell you about today's guest. Her name is Dee Horowitz. Dee's professional career spans over 25 years in corporate America, helping a range of small businesses grow from startup to highly successful enterprises. During this time, Dee also stood up her own two small businesses, a career coaching consultancy, and a personal shopper offering, while also managing full-time corporate roles in sales and new territory development. All of those skills are super important when it comes to growing a business. Throughout her career, she's been known as a trusted advisor to her Fortune 1000 clients, building a stellar reputation for providing value and integrity in every interaction with her clients, colleagues, and management. She's acquired expert-level skills in marketing, sales, customer service, business operations, and leadership, all of which is a natural transition into her entrepreneurial career, as well as helping all of us who are also growing our own businesses. While her corporate contributions have led to closing millions of dollars in new business for other business owners, her role was no longer fulfilling her, which is why I'm so excited to tell you about. In May of 2023, she launched BizyBoss Network, which is an online resource community for female entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, consultants, and freelancers that is fulfilling a void in the marketplace. She's got an awesome story about starting that. So I'm not going to say anything else. Let's dive straight into my interview with Dee Horowitz. All right, Dee, I'm so excited that you're here. Welcome to the Entrepreneur to Entrepreneur podcast.
Thanks, Brian. I am equally as excited, and I feed off of your energy. So this is going to be fun.
Heck yeah. No, it for sure is, because you are, I said it in the intro, I love your passion for not only business, but helping others. You have some really interesting phrasing, which we're going to dive into, about startups being in the startup phase or the amp up phase. I love that stuff. But before we get there, take us beyond the bio. Tell listeners, who is Dee? How the heck did you get here?
I think I grew up in a small rural town in Ohio. And of course, small businesses were the life's blood of, the community there. So I've always had a strong passion for supporting small businesses. My husband owns or has owned two small businesses simultaneously. He just got rid of one a couple of years ago, closed shop on one. So we're much more manageable now. But, it's in my blood. And what I came to think about at the beginning of this year was, what do I want to do with the second season of my life that's going to take me into my 90s and make me feel like, I'm leaving a legacy and I'm really leaving something important behind. And I thought, well, it's got to be something with small business. And then I read that female small businesses, one of the top 3 reasons that they fail is lack of access to resources and mentors. And, being a sales and marketing professional, I'm quite competitive by nature. So I said, that doesn't fly with me. There is no reason on earth why those should be reasons for women's small businesses to fail, and I'm going to do something about that.
Yes, amen to that. Obviously, it's at the core of what we value here at the Entrepreneur to Entrepreneur podcast. We want these types of conversations. Dee, you and I are always talking to entrepreneurs. How cool is it that we get to provide a free resource for entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs all over the world to tune in to these real conversations. So I love that. And I love how you said that entrepreneurship is in your blood. It's something you can't ignore. It's something that's always there. You feel it, and you've chosen to step into that in a really big way. And I want to call that out right away because I love the backstory to BizyBoss Network is that you sat down with 100 female business owners and you said, hey, what are your resource needs? What is the gap here that I can fill for you? Talk to us about those interviews, because I've never seen someone do such a deep and extensive approach to launching their business. I want to hear all about that from you.
So, being in sales and marketing for all my career, market research is really, really at the core of, understanding what your client needs, right? And then whether or not there was a market for something like that. I thought it was a cool idea, but, I needed to really validate it. And so I had these really great conversations with all of these women in different parts of their journey as entrepreneurs. Some were just getting started. Some were, 20 plus years in business. They were all over different industries, retail, online businesses, coaching businesses, even the not so typical female businesses of construction. One woman actually owned a concrete company. So they were all over the place, but noticed that, what they really, really needed was a community that was going to give them some time back in their day, give them a place to come and brainstorm with other business leaders, learn what they don't know, especially in the startup. It's like you don't know what you don't know. And a lot of women in the past couple of years since COVID have been moving out of corporate America into these entrepreneurial roles. And what they told me that they were missing was that, they didn't feel that sense of belonging anymore. They felt isolated and felt like, the weight of every decision was, on their shoulders, and not really having that support system that you do in a corporate environment to go to a colleague and say, hey, what do you think about this? Or, hey, can you review this marketing piece? Am I really hitting the mark here, or am I way off? So we wanted to really create this environment where they could have access to our resource library of content. They could, have an opportunity to build real business relationships rather than just a lot of these online groups feel more like a Shark Tank where people are just trying to play on your vulnerability and sell you, what they sell. We wanted more of a support type of environment. There's one-on-one mentorship that's available. Some of our members are very big into that. We have a woman who has a strong tech background who is willing to work with women to audit their website and provide ideas on how to make that more appealing. There's 2 times a week we get together for Zoom networking meetings, as well as we have weekly master classes that can be either fireside chats or webinars or even workshops. So we've got a lot going on.
Yeah, Dee, I love that overview for so many reasons. I want to share something personal right here that I think would really benefit listeners is that with all the resources that we have available today, today you can hop on YouTube and you can learn anything. You can Google anything and find blog posts about it. There are books about everything, whether it's marketing, sales, customer service, customer onboarding experiences. There's literally these videos about everything. And Dee, I personally feel, so I started my first business when I was 19, all the way back in 2008. And I'll never forget, those resources weren't there, which in hindsight, I realized was a blessing because what was I forced to do? I was forced to network. I was forced to email other business owners in my industry and say, hey, I'm brand new. I have no idea what I'm doing. Can we hop on Zoom? Or I think it was Skype back then, actually. Can we hop on Skype? And can we just can you share some insights with me? Dee, those people accelerated my success far more than any blog post or YouTube video could have done. And that's why I love that when you talk about resources, you can't help but at the cornerstone of BizyBoss is that it's also a community. You talked about people uplifting each other. And I think in today's world, it's what I really want to call out. Because you can access information so quickly now, we've lost that community element. But I know you and I are for sure, we're biased old heads in this when it comes to the business world, is that we know the value of community. Talk to us, especially knowing our audience that we're talking to right now, all those solopreneurs out there saying, hey, I'm worrying about starting my own business. I don't have time to network. I don't have time to post in a community. Talk to us about that aspect and some of those examples of how community, human interactions far supersedes the info that you can find in a million different places online.
Yeah. Well, I think that's part of the challenge, Brian, is that we can spend hours online researching for information, and as a small business owner, those are precious hours that we can't get back. So once we've spent that going down those rabbit holes of YouTube or Facebook or whatever it is, they're gone. And, for us to maybe even next week remember which YouTube video was that I forgot to bookmark, or whatever it is, part of BizyBoss is, we're going to do a lot of that research for our members. So we're out there scouring what are the upcoming webinars that are happening within SCORE or SBA, or, really any of the free classes that Harvard or MIT are providing. And we're posting that on the website. We're giving them access to white papers, to all of these different things so they can come into one place and, and know that everything is still there for them next week when they forget where they saw it. They can come back in and find it very quickly and easily again. And to that point, I think that the one-on-one connection is so strong, because when you're listening to a podcast, even like we're doing today, the audience doesn't have an opportunity to ask any questions beyond, just the information that they're listening to. So with us, with the webinars, with the workshops, there's always a lot of interactivity where they can get what they need out of it. So it's not just an information dump, but there's actually tangible information and steps that they can walk away with.
Yeah, it can't be stated enough. Honestly, I can't tell you how many times my success was shortcutted by someone who, from experience rather than theory, was saying, yeah, I know that they say to do this, but when I did this, here's the reality of what happened. Skip all those steps and just do this instead. That is something you're not going to find in a YouTube video. So I love that, Dee. I want to transition a little bit, because part of your language, I teased it very early on in this episode, part of your language that I really admire is you focus in on that startup mode to amp up mode. And I think those are two very important inflection points in a business's journey. Talk to us about the different needs that you find for business owners in those categories. What do they start out as when we're in startup mode? And then how does it start transitioning into amp up mode?
Yeah, and I think the journey is different for every business and every type of entrepreneur. For some of our consultants and our coaches, amp up mode may be just, oh my gosh, am I ready to hire somebody to help me from the administrative standpoint, or somebody to help me in sales so that I can just focus on delivering the content that I deliver as a consultant or a coach. For some others, it's going to be, I'm online, but maybe it's time for me to look at a bricks and mortar kind of situation for a retail shop. So everything is a little bit different. So what we're trying to do here, and we're in our infancy, so we're going to pivot with where the members need that content and that support as we grow, and provide them with those resources that they need. So if it's getting them in touch with a local realtor to help them look at commercial properties, to go to that next step, or whatever those needs are, we want to be able to be a support and a resource for them. Does that make sense?
I love that. Dee, it makes sense. And I almost want to call it out. Listeners know that back in 2020, I started a company called the Launch Coalition, which in a somewhat similar way was a community where I wanted a coalition of entrepreneurs who are launching together, growing together. And I since sold that business. But a key part of it is I realized I want this to be an unfair advantage for people. And the more that you talk about this, the more I realize, Dee, you are giving people an unfair advantage, because instead of me taking everything on myself, not only can I leverage information and resources, not only can I experience or leverage the experience of my other, BizyBoss Network members that are inside of there, but you're talking about actually having a team essentially that will be an extension of my business to go proactively make sure, hey, here's what we're staying on top of, what other content providers are providing as far as webinars. We'll link you up with the right people. And I know that in some case, part of your business model is actually showcasing your members. Talk to us about those types of unfair advantages that if you're trying to do this solo, good luck, because other people are sneakily using these types of unfair advantages.
Yeah, I think, so what we are trying to do is reduce the failure rate for female small businesses, so 20% of businesses fail within the first year. And like I said, I'm just not up for that happening. I'm going to try to reduce that as much as I possibly can. So I think a lot of times when a startup is, first coming to market and launching, they're thinking, their friends and family are going to be the ones supporting them in this process. But then they start to realize that friends and family may not be as into or have the capability to support them in the way that they need. And I'm not just talking financially, I'm talking emotionally, I'm talking, giving solid business advice, right? And by bringing the right resources together to help them and give them a better understanding of all of those things that they haven't considered yet that are going to be coming up. Launching the business is step one, right? Getting all of those legal documents set up and forming the company and all of that sort of stuff is one. But then I've heard from many online, I launched my business 2 months ago, my online retail shop, and I haven't had anybody buy anything yet. And I'm feeling like a failure. And I think we've got to step back and set realistic expectations as to what the ramp up time is going to be per industry and per, the offering that they have. And then also get them to clearly identify what success is for them, because it's not always making millions of dollars.
Yeah, Dee, that is such a powerful point you just made. I want to call that out for listeners, is that I want to call out that point about family and friends, because you're right. When we all launch our businesses, that is our network, or so we think. We think that that is a sufficient network, and we're all blessed. When you have good friends and good family, you are blessed. That is a huge advantage in life. However, Dee, you just revealed to listeners that doesn't translate to the business network that you need. I have received a lot of very bad advice from my non-entrepreneurial friends and family, for sure, because you said it. And I love how you went beyond just the business strategy. You said they can't emotionally support us. They don't understand what it's like to put ourselves out there, to always go for the sale, to get rejected, to doubt ourselves, that deep inner doubt that only us fellow entrepreneurs get. That's why I love this community that we've created here inside of Wantrepreneur to Entrepreneur. And it all leads me to, these are all things that contribute to that failure rate that you cited. But Dee, having talked to as many business owners entrepreneurs as you have, having had a lifetime so far in small business in various capacities. Let's talk about that failure rate. What are some of those reasons that you see businesses, whether it's businesses as a whole, or if you think there are uniquely positioned challenges that female entrepreneurs face, what are some of those things that contribute to that failure rate?
Well, I talked about expectations, and I think that that's a big one. What is the old saying? If we build it, they will come, and they don't, right? So, understanding what systems and what plans do we have to put in place, over the course of 3 months, 6 months, a year, to really grow that business from the startup mode into that next phase of amp up. What I've read is that, for women, and I guess it depends on the type of business, but they're not always taken as seriously as business owners, especially when they're going for financing and things of that nature. So, we want to promote that whole finance area, the 6 pillars of business, finance being one of those. We want to educate our female entrepreneurs on what it is they need to know, what grants are out there and available to them, and all that sort of stuff. So that kind of takes some of that off the plate. But then there's also the that whole perception that, I'm going to be making a replacement of my corporate salary within 3 months. And if that doesn't happen, then, do they have enough to live on? Do they have to put this now to a side gig kind of thing and get back into a regular corporate job? Or, what kinds of things happen from that perspective as well. So it's usually financial hardships, the mentoring, and the, just the access to resources, like I said, that are like the top 3 things that will push a business into closing.
Yeah, I love how you say access to resources and how you stress the importance of that, because in addition to you running your own business, in addition to you serving your own customers, you are also a curator of those resources. Part of what you do at BizyBoss Network is going and finding people who will run these awesome workshops and webinars for your members, giving them that leg up, that unfair advantage that I talked about. That in and of itself is a full-time quote unquote job where you have to go and find these people. Talk to us about that process, Dee, because you've just said, hey, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to find awesome people who share with our people, who believe that a rising tide lifts all boats. How are you getting your hands on these resources?
Throughout my corporate career, one of my best resources for relationship building was LinkedIn. So I continue to use LinkedIn as a resource to go out there and identify those women entrepreneurs that have been in business for, 10 years, 15 years or more, that have a great story from what I can see from their profile. And then I do the research on their website. And then I just, reach out to them and see and let them know what we're trying to accomplish here at BizyBoss, and see if they are open to, or at that point in their life where they want to give back and they want to help other women entrepreneurs, because that's the culture that we're creating here. And so that's the type of speakers and presenters that we will bring into this organization, those that really want to have an opportunity to give back and help other women succeed.
Yeah, and I think that speaks a lot to the fact that you're just going out there and literally finding people on LinkedIn and reaching out to them. It shows when you are proactive as an entrepreneur, most of the time, good people will want to help. So I love that window into the way that you're going out and getting these workshop presenters. I think it's brilliant. And I think that it's also a lesson point for every single person listening here, is that people like to help people. Good people like to help people. That'll be my big disclaimer. If people have a scarcity mindset and they say, why am I going to teach teach my stuff to your audience. You don't want those people. You want the generous ones, the abundance mindset entrepreneurs, which there are so many out there. Listeners, you get to hear them every single week here on this show. And Dee, you're such a shining example of that. I want to ask you this, and I'm shocked it didn't come up earlier in our conversation, but I knew I wanted to ask you this today, which is when we talk about resources as small business owners, a lot of us are solopreneurs. It's easy to look at big business and say, gosh, they've got resources. They've got marketing departments. They've got sales teams. They have all these things. Dee, you worked in corporate for over 25 years. What are some of those things that you picked up inside of corporate that you said, hey, we actually have an advantage when we apply this stuff to small business, or small businesses can do this in a way that maybe big businesses can't do? What are some of those things that you found crossing those barriers and borders?
I think probably for small business, one of the things is being able to be responsive to the client's needs quickly. Big businesses can be like a big ship, and it's really hard to get it to turn. Or, what I learned in corporate America is one client can come to you. I sold a lot of SaaS products in my day as well. And, one client could come and say, oh, this product is great, but gosh, I wish it could do this. And I thought, well, that's a brilliant idea. We should be able to do that. But, it would have to reach like a certain saturation point of X number of clients asking for that same thing before, the product team would get involved, where small business has that opportunity to really understand and listen to their clients and then make those pivots and make those tweaks to really help themselves stand out in the market and therefore grow and get more customers because they're responding to a trend or to a need in their market.
Yeah, I really like that analogy. I'm a visual person, so I like how you talked about it's more difficult to steer a big ship. And you're right, it is that agility, it's that nimbleness that we have as solopreneurs that is our biggest advantage. And it's something that should be exciting for us. And a lot of people get discouraged saying, oh, I don't know if I should do this or do this or do this. Just throw something out there, go for it. And also, when you assist that with insights, experiences from other entrepreneurs who have also tried all of these things and a heck of a lot more, then you start really setting yourself up for success. So Dee, I love those insights. As we come towards the end, I want you to share what you've got going on inside of BizyBoss Network, because it is super accessible. That is something that I love about your business, and we'll talk about that. But before we get there, I always like to give my guests the hard part of the job, which is to give listeners an actionable takeaway. We talked about so many great things here today, Dee. Access to resources, why businesses fail, the importance of a community. I could list a ton of different takeaways from this episode, but what's one action that, having listened to our conversation here today, you hope that every entrepreneur and entrepreneur takes when it comes to their own business, whether they're in startup mode, amp up mode? What's something that they should focus on with all these things in mind?
I would say, always have the growth mindset. Be willing to listen to others and then digest that information, take from it what feels like it's true to you and authentic to, how you want to conduct your business. And don't feel like you have to do it all alone. There's a lot of different resources and communities that are out there. BizyBoss may not be the best for, every female entrepreneur out there. We're in a growth mindset mode here at BizyBoss. So we want to make sure that all of our members are equally in that mode, and not just coming in to be a member and try to sell, but really try to support, try to grow your own skills and your own business, right? So I think, I think that that's probably more generic to fit across all of the different types of business owners that listen to this, or those, that are just starting in the business world is trust your instincts, but also be able to listen to the advice of others.
Yeah, I love that advice, Dee. It's such a wise choice for you there at the end of this episode. And listeners, I want to call out, you can see why I said that Dee so encompasses one of my favorite quotes of all time: a rising tide lifts all boats, because it is that growth mindset and being surrounded by other people with that growth mindset that's going to enable your growth. So Dee, you've been a wealth of knowledge. I know listeners are going to want to know more about BizyBoss Network. And before I let you tease some of those links and resources that you've got, I also want to add in there. So for listeners who are hearing this thinking, well, maybe I'm not a female entrepreneur, or maybe I'm not ready to dive into this, if you check out Dee's business website at busybossnetwork.com, which the link will be down below, and Dee, I want you to talk about that in your own words in just a second, but Dee's also pumping out free content there for the world to see. I love your blog posts. They feel like I'm having a chat with you about just business strategy and insights. Your most recent blog post was, how's your customer experience? And you talk about walking past your husband's home office, hearing his frustration. There's an infographic saying, hey, here's how you can start tackling the customer relationship. So there's free resources out there. But Dee, take it away for listeners who want to know how to find out more about you, the awesome work you're doing at BizyBoss Network. What are some of those resources? Drop those links for us.
Yeah. So busybossnetwork.com is the main website. I also post regularly on LinkedIn, and it's just, linkedin.com /BizyBoss. That's BIZY boss dash network for LinkedIn. And I'm on Instagram at BizyBoss 2023. So definitely give us a look, give us a like and a follow. We would love for you to just have access to the free stuff that I do put out there. I also have been doing monthly free workshops for those that are interested in taking a gander at starting up, but have not decided to actually, make that plunge yet. So we definitely would welcome you to take a look at the events page on the busybossnetwork.com site for any of the free seminars that are coming up. That would be, Zoom links for you guys to attend.
Heck yes, listeners, you know the drills. You just heard from Dee. You can actually get a free taste of Dee in action by going to the events page on her website. So check the show notes wherever it is that you're tuning in. You'll find those 3 links: a link to the BizyBoss Network website, which is busybossnetwork.com. That's busy, B-I-Z-Y, like your business, busybossnetwork.com. So that's the website, as well as you'll find links to Dee's LinkedIn, as well as the Instagram that she mentioned. So definitely pop into the show notes and find those. Otherwise, Dee, thank you so much for being so generous and coming on and sharing all of this stuff with us here today on the Entrepreneur to Entrepreneur podcast.
My pleasure, Brian. Thank you.